right, so you guys have looked up every single tutorial there is on YouTube on how to wheelie your bike, and maybe you ride an R7 or a Sur-Ron or an R7 or a Supermoto. Whatever it is, everybody has struggled with some things, and I want to go over the top 5 things everybody struggles with. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. So, leaning left and right. You guys can't see, but this lot definitely leans to the left, and the biggest thing when you're leaning to the left and to the right, there's a couple things to check. Make sure your axle is actually straight and your wheel is straight. The next thing that might do it a little bit is your tire being pumped up too much. Now, you don't want to be that guy that has a completely flat tire, so let a little bit of air out, but enough to where you can still go around corners without having your back end move around. All right, so those are the only 2 things. Other than that, if you guys are on your bike like so and you're super tense and you're real tense, watch what happens when I pop this thing up and I'm very tense. We're gonna stay real tense. And you can see we went off to the left. I held my knees together, I held my arms together, and we went off to the left. Let's do that again. I'm gonna show you guys again. I hate doing this because it's scary now. This is how I used to just wheelie all the time, but all right, we're gonna get her in 2nd gear. We're gonna pop up, and we're gonna just stay really tense. You guys can see it's going over to the left. The number 1 thing that you need to do is loosen up your legs. Let's go ahead and do these wheelies again. But this time I'm gonna loosen up. I'm gonna take a deep breath. Breathe out. Enjoy the wheelie, bro. The wheelie shouldn't be this scary process. So let's go ahead and put it in 2nd. All right, we're gonna stay loose on the bike. Our legs are gonna be loose, all right? Here we go. You see how much better that was? Look at his knees on the bike. You guys can see he's got both his knees are very loose, bro. Nothing's pinching the bike. His arms are loose. They're bent slightly, and he's just relaxed on the bike. See that foot just moved? He locked in. He's breathing, bro. He's enjoying the wheelie. So that is like myth number 1, or I guess struggle number one for everybody. Is see, even when he went left and right, if you pay attention to what his leg was doing in that process, when he started going to the left, he stuck his left or his right leg out. He straightened it back up. That's what I want you guys to do. So I'm gonna do another wheelie here for you. I'm gonna drop it back a little bit, and I'm gonna stay real loose, man. And I'm gonna move the bike back and forth. So we're gonna start over here on the left. We're gonna start right here. I'm gonna gradually move the bike to the right. Okay, so here we go. All right, we're gonna do that again. We're gonna stay real loose on the bike. Let's just breathe while we're up here. All right, this is where I'm like, breathing, bro. Enjoying the wheelie. Slowing her down. There you go. So stay loose on the bike, man. That's just the tip number 1, ground zero. Stay loose on the bike. All right, guys. The second thing that your great grandfather told you, that bike can't wheelie, boy, it don't got enough power. Listen, those R7s right there have plenty of power to come up. This one, I'm gonna try to power wheelie it for you guys, okay? I'm gonna go right here and I'm gonna try to power wheelie it. This is a 17. That's all it's got. You're not power wheeling it. You're not gonna power wheel it. You have to pull in the clutch, okay? So when you have a bike that's a little bit less power, it's pretty slow, it doesn't have a lot of torque, you're 1,000 billion trillion bajillion % going to need to pull the clutch in. So here we go. We're gonna roll up. We're gonna pull this clutch in. This bike doesn't have a lot of power, and I'm gonna bounce my butt on the seat and pull it up. Look at that. So the whole thing about needing power and this and that is a total lie. This bike is a turd. I mean, it's a great bike. It's a 300. It's a great bike, but it's a turd, man. It's not fast. It's not very powerful. Even 1st gear, I don't know if I can power wheelie in 1st gear. No, you literally can't even. You can't even power wheelie in 1st gear, man. So if you're buying a bike and you think that you need a ton of power for it, you don't, guys. You don't need a ton of power. You can get away with wheeling something as small bore as like a 300 that weighs 300 pounds. This is not like just a normal dirt bike. It actually weighs quite a bit. It's about 305, 315 pounds. And it has no power. So that's the next myth. You know, a lot of people talk about the Grom and stuff like that. The Grom I've wheelied 110s in third gear. I've wheelied all of them, bro. You don't need a ton of power. Now, the next thing, this is probably the hardest thing that you're gonna do when learning how to wheelie, bro, and that is slowing the bike down. But I'm gonna show you guys exactly what to do for that today and just tell you the process that I took in order to do that. So what I want you to do is you're gonna be riding your bike and I want you to let off the throttle. You're not pressing the brake at all and the bike's slowing down, right? So if you can do that, then you can do that in a wheelie. And this is what's called a coaster. And I advise you guys to ride the brake until you're very comfortable with letting off of the brake. But I'm not going to be hitting the brake this entire time. I'm mainly going to be just pulling up and coasting, letting off the throttle, letting the engine brake slow me down, because you don't want to chase a wheelie everywhere. Now, for those of you that are new, I'm going to chase this wheelie, okay? So this is what chasing a wheelie looks like. When you finish the wheelie, it's screaming. Wah! So what you're gonna wanna do is listen to the RPMs. There's a bunch of people, bro, take a video for me. Show me how far back I am. Listen, if your RPMs aren't slowing down, you're not back far enough. It doesn't matter what video you take or what you think or how you feel in your heart of hearts. It only matters when the RPMs start dropping, you're back far enough. So let's go ahead and drop back until we hear the RPM start slowing us down. Here we go. This is slowing down. Tip number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pop this thing up and slow down a little bit. Look at that. We finished the wheelie at 22 miles an hour. So we can slow way down if you really want to. And that's where we're gonna coast. So let's go ahead and do a coaster. Now, I'm not teaching you how to do a coaster, I'm teaching you how to slow down. So let's do this again, and we're gonna slow down as much as possible while coasting. Basically came to a stop, 15 miles an hour. You're not even really moving when you're doing it at 15, bro. That's super slow. And we're probably going a little bit slower than that. So slowing the bike down, bro, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. So there's another step to this. And it's just where you get steady throttle. So we're gonna go for steady throttle here. And we're not gonna drop back or coast. We're just gonna go for as steady as we possibly can in a wheelie. I'm not gonna drop back. I'm just gonna hold it entirely steady. So listen to the bike, okay? Listen to it. That right there, it might feel like you're chasing, right? So you're gonna feel like you're chasing because you're not really leaning back, you're not slowing down. But that right there is balance point. Believe it or not, that is balance point. Any further back after that is gonna be a drop back. That's where you're gonna start slowing down. So slowing the bike down is a combination of bringing it up, chopping the throttle, and letting the RPMs and the engine slow the bike down. Now, if you're on a Sur-Ron or a 2-stroke, you're not gonna have that luxury of having engine brake. So let's go ahead and slow down one more time. Listen to the RPMs and listen to what the bike's doing, all right? Listen to the RPMs. Okay, there you go. So you guys know that you can slow down now, and that's on I'm on a nice, decent size supermoto. It's nothing crazy, but you can slow the bike down just with using the throttle and chopping it, okay? Number 4, you guys, this is a tough one. This is a tough one to talk about. Looping out. All right, so here's a fellow stunter right here. You ever looped out? Yeah, exactly. It's gonna happen again. Yeah, man. I was just trying to tell him, like, it's part of the process, dude. It's part of it happening, man. So Corey actually looped out today on his Sur-Ron. And that's Justin back there. I'll leave a link to his Instagram. You know, I've seen him loop out. I've looped out plenty of times. It's not fun, guys. So just understand it's part of the process. And I want to teach you today kind of how to loop. And I know there's not a real way of how to loop because there's so many different loops, man. You can pancake. That's awful. You can mousetrap, which is bringing yourself off, which I still consider that a loop. only because it's part of doing a wheelie and whatnot. So if you are doing a wheelie and you hit the brake real hard and you fly over the handlebars, that's called a mousetrap, bro. That is terrible. You don't want that to happen. It's a bad day. But when you loop, you want, if you you want to try to get the bike back to balance point as much as possible. And when you're at that balance point, if you're going to loop, you're just going to sit down on the ground, bro. It's not going to be comfy. It's going to hurt. You're going to hit your back, your elbow. Make sure to wear your gear, man. I know a lot of guys that don't wear gear. I have good friends that don't wear a lot of gear. You can't force anybody to wear gear. But all I'm trying to say is, if you're up at a wheelie, like right here where my hands are, and you just jump off, you're going for a ride like this. The bike's gonna come down, and you're going for a ride, and you're gonna fly into whatever's in front of you. So just stay on the bike, bro. And when you see the bike coming over, try to move your legs. Don't try not to get squished by everything. It's kind of inevitable, but I don't even like talking about looping. It's not a fun time, but everybody has to do it. It's part of the process. And once you loop, you really learn. So there's this myth that if you loop, you learn how to wheelie. I'm gonna tell you today that myth is not busted. That myth is absolutely true. This is Mythbusters for bikes, I guess. But yeah, if when you loop, you really learn how to wheelie a bike, man. And last but not least, like I said before, you guys are not that guy. You're not him. You're not Timothy. You're not gonna just come on these bikes and wheelie your first try. It's just not gonna happen. I don't care. I learned how to wheelie my Grom in 4 days, bro. I don't know anybody else that learned how to wheelie their Grom in 4 days. In those 4 days, I looped out twice. And that's not fun. It's not a good time because you're looping out as you're starting. But there's people that get up from a loop and people that don't. So when you loop out, just get back up on the bike, ride it some, get that bad taste out your mouth, because you're going to be all right. You're going to be good. You're going to be fine. Most of us are not going to be on giant bikes when we're learning. We're going to be on smaller bikes. So it's not like a huge mega deal. But yeah, so just know that looping is part of the process. And the last thing is practice, man. If you guys do not practice, you're not going to get better. Me and these guys that you see out here on Instagram doing wheelies and stuff, we're out here 3, 4, 5 times a week grinding for 3 or 4 hours, man, just really sending it and pushing ourselves. And that's when you can get to no-handed coasters. That's nuts, dude. Yeah, make sure to practice it up, guys. I didn't want to do another how-to wheelie video. I just wanted to give you guys something where I'm telling you my thoughts and stuff on wheelies. And here we go, man. So these are the myths that we busted today. You don't need power. You can slow the bike down with just chopping the throttle. You don't have to ride the brake. Looping out is part of the process. Practice is part of the process. And if you're going from left to right, you need to breathe and let loose, man. Let your legs loose, let your arms loose, let your back loose, and just breathe out. And I promise you it'll be better. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, man. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys can see everything just fine out here at the lot. And I will see you guys in the next video.